In today's video, I'm going to share with you my antique booth sales for the month of March. It was a really good month for me, but to be honest, a lot of my sales came from my YouTube viewers, meaning they actually came and visited my store and bought several items from not only my booth, but from other vendors as well at our store. So although this was a great month, it is not necessarily typical for me. In today's video, I'm going to share with you several items that sold, what I paid for the item, how much it sold for. I will show you a picture of each item, and I will also tell you the gross profit margin that each sale represented for me. During the month of March, my sales were $702.90. This does include the 10% commission that I pay to the owner of the store on every single item that I sell, but it does not include my booth rent. My booth rent is $1.98 per square foot, and my booth is a little less than 100 square feet. That should give you an idea of what I pay in rent. The first sale is a mid-century turquoise drip glaze ashtray. So I was so excited about this particular find that when I made the video of that thrift haul, the thumbnail had a photo of me holding the ashtray. So I was really excited about the find. I only paid $3.31 for it at Goodwill. It sold for $26.20. So that was a gross profit margin of 87%. When I'm sharing with you the price that I paid, it does include sales tax of 7% in Georgia, and the sold price that I'm sharing with you does include the 10% commission that I pay to the store on every single item that I sell. All right, next up were two doilies, and they are beautiful cross-stitch doilies. I actually learned later that they are Mexican tortilla warmers, so what a fancy way to keep your tortillas warm. I got a bunch of these, and they have been rather slow to sell, but I sold two in the month of March, and I think it was because I just displayed them better, that they showed up better in the booth. I paid $1.06 a piece for the doilies, or the tortilla warmers, I should say, and they sold for $5.40 a piece for a gross profit margin of 80%. All right, next up, blue and white is doing really well. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that all of my Johnson Brothers blue and white china in the coaching scenes is pretty much gone, except for one cream and sugar set. So I went and got some more blue and white because I was feeling really encouraged by that. I have several of these Maya Finlandia pieces, and during the month of March, I sold 3 of the small dessert plates. So that was good. I thought that they were going to be slow sellers. They're definitely slower than the Johnson Brothers, but they're still selling. I paid just 61 cents a piece for these plates, and each one sold for $5.40 for a profit margin of 89%. All right, moving right along, whenever I see these mason jar inspired salt and pepper shakers, for a good price, I get them because they're not vintage. They're like vintage inspired, I guess. You could say they sell really well, at least for me in North Georgia. I paid $2.33 for the pair, and it sold for $12.60 for a gross profit margin of 81%. A while back, I got a set of Saki cups in the signs of the Japanese Zodiac. And unfortunately, I didn't have all 12 for all 12 months of the year. I only had 10. And then I accidentally crushed one up in my garbage disposal when I was washing them. So that was interesting. They're all gone now. The remaining 2 that I had sold during the month of March, I only paid 95 cents a piece for them, and each one sold for $4.50 for a gross profit margin of 79%. I forgot to mention that I have a cat of the day for the end of this video, and I have some pet outtakes that I also put at the end. Okay, so the next several things I'm going to share with you are items that sold to my YouTube viewers who came and visited our store. The first one is this Fire King pitcher in the Tulips pattern. It would be a lovely juice pitcher, which is what it was originally intended to be, but I just would use it as a vase if I had been able to keep it. I paid just $2.24 for this. This was a really desirable piece for people who collect Fire King and the Tulips pattern, and Fire King is a really popular one. It's very pretty. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture here of what the mixing bowls look like because I just think they're fabulous. I've only seen a set of those in the wild one time, and they were at a Value Village behind the glass counter, the glass cases, and they were up on a display shelf in their boutique area, and they were $100 for the set. So Value Village knew that they had something special, and I wasn't able to get those. But this picture I found and was so excited about it that I also put it in the thumbnail for one of my videos of when I found it. It sold for $26.10 to a viewer. So that was a 91% profit margin for me. Very nice. Thank you so much, Marla. And then Marla also bought some Metlox Red Rooster pieces from me. She got the cream and sugar set and the gravy boat. For the cream and sugar, I paid $5.35. I got these from an estate sale. And the cream and sugar sold for $28.80 for a gross profit margin of 81%. The gravy boat, I paid $4.28 for, and it sold for $19.80 for a profit margin of 78%. Okay, the next thing was that I had had this covered wagon metal art in my booth since 2023 or prior. I think I probably had it since 2022. And Marla and her husband, they bought my covered wagon metal art. So this was a really good sale for me. It sold for $145 and I got $130.50 out of that sale after the store got their 10% cut. I paid $45 plus tax. So that was a gross profit margin for me of 63%. Now, of course, that sale did, give me a bigger number on my paycheck. And so that is why I probably can't expect this to happen every month. Artwork doesn't sell particularly well in our store. And the reason for that is because a lot of our customers are just passing through. They're tourists and they're just visiting. And so most of them don't buy artwork. They buy small items that are easy for them to get home again in their car or on the plane. All right, the next two sales were the same day, and I'm really not sure if these were also from Marla or if they were from somebody else. I sold 4 cookie cutters, and I believe that they were from my new display of my copper finish cookie cutters. They were 47 cents a piece, and they sold for $2.70 a piece for a gross profit margin of 83% on each one. I'm just obsessed with these cookie cutters. I just love this copper finish on them. And the next was a Hummel music box that I got in an estate sale. It played the song Edelweiss. I know that song from the movie The Sound of Music. Sold for $19.80. That was a profit margin of 84%. The next thing I want to share with you was a really pretty little hummingbird figurine by the company Lefton. I paid $0 because I got it as part of a gift haul from our pet sitter, and it sold for $9. So that was a 100% gross profit margin for me because I didn't pay anything for it. All right, next up was a Fostoria dark blue claret is the color goblet. These are really nice, heavy, substantial glasses. I paid $2.24 for it, and it sold for $14.40 for a profit margin of 84%. I had 3 of these to begin with. 1 sold, so I still have a nice looking pair in the booth. I generally do not sell things like that as a set. I have found that stemware moves so much faster for me if I sell them individually, but unfortunately sometimes that means you end up with one. Just one single wine glass, which looks kind of strange. Okay, here's a sale that I was very excited about. This sale did not come from a viewer. It was on a different day. But all 6 of my German vintage paper mache eggs sold. Actually, I wasn't sure if all of them were vintage or not. One of my viewers told me that the ones that say made in Western Germany are definitely vintage because that means that they were made when there still was a West Germany and an East Germany. So prior to the wall coming down in 1989. But that viewer also told me that they still sell these like at World Market. So some of these are reproductions, I guess you would call them. I was able to sell the ones that were vintage for a little bit more. All 6 of them sold to the same person. I paid $5 even for all 6 of them, and together all 6 of them sold for $49. After the 10% commission, I got $44.10 from that sale. So that was an 88% gross profit margin for me on my eggs. I had those last Easter and they didn't sell, so they had been sitting, in my inventory all year. Got them back out this Easter and they all sold. So I was really excited about that. The next sale went to a viewer. Thank you, Laura and Mike. I sold 2 Queen's China. These are bone china, very delicate cups in the pattern Virginia Strawberry. They're just lovely. No wear on the gold trim. I paid $1.49 a piece for my cups, and they sold for $9 each for a profit margin of 83%. The next thing I have to share with you was a vintage pastry blender. It said made in the USA on it, and it was just 54 cents. I sold it for $9, so that was a lovely profit margin of 94%. If you've been watching my channel, you also know that I really like Pfaltzgraff, but it is a slow seller in our store in general, not just for me. I'm hoping that it will gain popularity again someday. So I was very excited to sell 4 of the flat mugs. So they're kind of like a low squat shaped coffee cup in the pattern Yorktowne. I had had these since 2024. I paid just 54 cents a piece for them, and they sold for $4.50 each for a profit margin of 88%. Also, it opened up 4 little hooks on my pegboard wall where I quickly went and put more coffee cups. Just to give you an idea of how hot Johnson Brothers is, I sold 4 saucers by themselves with no cups to go with them. I paid $0 for the saucers because they were a gift haul from a friend, and the saucers sold for $4.50 each. So again, that was a 100% gross profit margin because I paid $0 for them. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in the formula that I use for profit margin, just go into the comments and type formula, and I will share it with you there. I use Microsoft Excel to calculate the profit margin for me very easily. And finally, I sold one of my little green wooden handmade benches. I was using them as little bookshelves because they were nice and sturdy and heavy, and I wanted my books to be displayed up off the ground a little bit. I don't have any bookcases in my booth. All of my shelving units are just display shelves, so they don't have a back to them. I bought these at an estate sale, and this was the estate sale where I was just frustrated because most everything there was not priced, and you were basically just given a price at the cash register. I just wasn't happy with that whole setup, and I paid a little bit too much for the bookshelves, but I was able to justify it because I knew that they were handmade, and I thought they were really well done and sturdy. First, I put the books in the front of my booth, and I had a viewer tell me that may not work with your traffic pattern because if you've got people looking at your books in the front of the booth and like blocking your entrance to your booth, other people might feel like they can't come in. And I was like, that's a good point. So I moved the books a little bit further back, and I still didn't like it. My friend Carol called me from the register and said, someone's offering to give you $40 for one of them. And I was happy to let it go because I didn't like the way it was working out with my books anyway. So I paid $20 for it plus tax because I was in an estate sale, so I paid tax. So I paid $21.40 for this, and it sold for $36, which was my worst profit margin of the month at 41%. However, since it just wasn't working for me the way that I pictured it, I changed everything up and I just put the remaining little bench that I have, because I have 2 of them, on the floor. I put a vintage Play School toy on top of it and a couple of children's books on the top of it, and I'm really happy with the way that looks. So all is going to work out. Anyway, so this was a really good month for me, and generally March is kind of slow. Things usually don't start really picking up for us until April, which is when we have spring break in Georgia. That's when a lot of families are traveling and renting cabins in our area of the North Georgia mountains. I'm really happy about my March sales, but again, a lot of that credit goes to a couple of my loyal viewers. I don't sell online, and I've done some videos on why ultimately I'm choosing not to sell online. The main reason is that I am working really hard with YouTube, and it is a lot more time consuming than I think most people realize. And then I am, selling in my antique booth. And I think if I tried to add on a third layer of also selling online, that I would struggle. And I'm just not there yet. It's probably going to take me a while to where I feel like I could really make it with either selling online. Honestly, adding a second booth is probably a better option for me, because I just really love setting up a physical space. I really love that my antique booth is my inventory space, and that I don't have to have a dedicated inventory space in my home. All right, so today's cat of the day is an orange tabby, and my pet outtakes, if I remember correctly, do include our orange tabby. His name is Bowen. But look at this beautiful guy. He looks so much like our cat, especially his expression on his face. So this guy's name is Max, and the caption says, "Work it, Max, find your light." Yes. So apparently he's like a little model. This is some great stuff. Max is the most photogenic cat ever. Agree Michelle and John Weiner from North Yarmouth, Maine. He is 10 years old, and we've had him since he was a kitten. We got him and his brother from a rescue. Michelle adds that fortunately the cat adores the camera as much as it loves him. I have so many pictures, she says. Talk about camera ready. I don't think I did a very good job impersonating a photographer at the beginning of this caption. Work it, Max. Find your light. Yes, this is some great stuff. I don't know. That probably wasn't any better. But here is Max, and isn't he just the most handsome older gentleman? Anyway, so I do have some pet outtakes that include Bowen, our orange tabby male, and include our French Bulldog bear wearing his life jacket. So you're not going to want to miss that. I'm telling you, he is the cutest thing. I have to tell you a quick little story about why he's wearing his life jacket. So we have an above ground pool, and last summer he would get in the pool, but we had to hold on to him, or we would hold on to him while he floated on a float. He can't swim. And apparently French Bulldogs can't swim because their heads are too heavy. They're really top heavy. Their heads are too heavy for their little bodies, and they just are not cut out for swimming. So the other day, and he had never tried to jump in the pool unsupervised last summer. We have a gate that locks, so they can't get in when we're not watching them. But the other day I was sitting by the pool, and we still had the cover on. We hadn't taken the cover off yet, and he actually jumped onto the cover. And of course I started freaking out, and he's scrambling around. He was scared. You could tell his eyes are like huge. And thankfully he didn't break through the cover. He's about 32 pounds. Maybe closer to 35, but thank goodness he didn't break through. But he was covered in this nasty water that had been sitting on the top of the cover, and he was covered in algae, and the water smelled bad, so we took him straight to the tub. And I was like, well, if we're going to sit at the pool, you're going to have to wear your life jacket, because right now that water is freezing. We don't have a heater, and I'm not ready to get in yet. So he has to wear his life jacket because he scared me so bad. It's so cold that I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack if I had to jump in there to try to rescue him. The shock of the cold water plus the fear that he's going to drown. I think it would just be a little too much for me right now, and your girl is not ready to die of a heart attack alone in her freezing cold swimming pool. So yeah. Anyway, that's my story about why Bear is wearing his adorable shark life jacket. Bear right now. I'm gonna go let the crew in because I can tell that they want to come in. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope that you found some value in the video, just in terms of what a good March looks like for me. And as always, I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Zoe. Good morning, Lily. Bear, you look cute in your life jacket. I know. This is because Bear decided to jump onto the pool cover the other day when we did not have the cover off yet. Oh my gosh, it scared me. We got covered in yucky, gross water, and then we had to put him right in the bathtub. But he didn't break through the cover, thank goodness. Alright, Bear. You look cute, buddy.